Hey guys, it's Andy from Estella's Revenge. I wanted to do a devoted review discussion for a book that I read late. It kind of helped pull me out of a reading slump in the month of June, and it sucked me right in. When Women Were Birds by Terry Tempest Williams, and it is a physically small book. It's about the size of my head, and it's not very long, but it was so affecting. The subtitle on this is 54 Variations on Voice. She wrote this book after her mother's death. Her mother passed away from cancer, and she comes from a family of Mormons, and it is etched into their culture that they will journal their lives and pass those journals along to their children as a way to impart wisdom and all of that. And so after her mother dies, she opens the journals and finds that they are empty. Journals and journals and journals of empty pages. Hundreds, maybe thousands of pages. And so this book is really Terry Tempest Williams' attempt to come to terms with her mother's choice of silence. And so this book is all about voice. It's about Terry Tempest Williams and her upbringing. It's about her relationships. It is about her work, whether that was working on a national stage for conservation, whether she was writing. It's just all about the ways women use their voices or choose not to, and what that means. What are the statements? What are the power plays within that? How are women silenced? How do they overcome that? How do they put their voices to work? And it sounds fairly vague and crunchy, and it sort of is, because these are vignettes. These are sometimes almost bordering on stream of consciousness type pieces, but they're all fairly short chapters that ultimately come back around to her mother and those journals and what that means. And it was stunning. I know that this is something that I needed now. It's one of those books that came along at just the right time for me. Having left my job about 4 months ago, having decided to go back to teaching in higher education, having decided to make writing a priority in my life, all of those things circle around voice. What am I going to say to my students? How am I going to use my voice for causes that I believe in? How am I going to use my voice to express my feelings that later on my son will read and hear and absorb? You know, how does my voice and my using it affect my family and the people around me, especially if it's something fairly controversial? So this book absolutely positively came along at the right time for me. If you like books that are very quiet, introspective, perhaps philosophical, it is an exploration. It is Terry Tempest Williams working through this experience and reflecting on her life at the same time. So it is a lot of different things. It is an amalgamation of memoir and philosophy and conservation and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. And I loved it for that. I loved it for the free-flowing nature of it, for going to some very dark places, and being willing to question. You know, that's what Tempest Williams decides, is that her voice is being found through the lack of her mother's voice. And that was a really powerful thing. And as someone who has an aging mom, you know, I don't want to think about a lot of these things, but find myself just at this point in life having to think about those things. So it's beautiful, fantastic on a lot of levels. I did a ton of underlining and page marking in this book, and it was one of the few books that I absolutely wanted to turn back to the first page as soon as I finished it and read it all over again. So I am absolutely positive that I will reread this book in the future. So When Women Were Birds, 54 Variations on Voice by Terry Tempest Williams is fantastic. Get it for yourself. Do it now.